base plane couldn't stay with me anyway, so I'd go out by myself, and I'd get to like at 10,000 feet, and it didn't want to have to go up to race power all the time to get higher speed, so I'd dive it. And one day, a reporter was out looking at the airplane and asking about how I tested, and I told him I went to 10,000 feet to pick up speeds, and the engineer was there, and he says, "Yeah, well," I said, "Yeah," and then I dive it to get the speed up, and he says, "Why do you do that?" And I said, well, if it comes apart, I don't have to watch so long. As you can tell, I had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
I really did.
So besides the cooling issues, the first flight,
everything was fine.
And you knew right then that this
was going to be it.
Yeah.
And what we did for the oil cooling problem was I got a supplemental oil cooler, mounted it in front of the coolant radiator. So, and then of course, it had a thermal bulb in it, so the oil wouldn't go through that. It had to bypass, so it'd go through my normal cooler or normal operations. But when you get to higher temperature, that would open. Then it'd run that oil through there and through. Fixed the problem perfect. Same temperature was always perfect. The fact is, they put the same design on Gary Levitt's airplane then. That was just didn't add. Well, it added a few pounds, but see, that airplane only weighed 5,200 pounds, and stock Mustangs are about 78 or something like that, I think. Wait, I'm sorry, 72. The Miss Ashley, their empty weight was heavier than my race weight, because they put that big Griffin on there. Then they had to put oil in for the unfeathering. By the time, plus they added, I forget how many, maybe a lot of weight, because the CG was way off with that, the way they had that put together. We never had to, when we done the weight and balance on it, we never added a pound one way or the other. But what I did was I went in and to the weight and balance of the Lear, figured out where the Mac was at, took the same, I knew the fuselage was going to be very similar, so I took the fuselage and matched that CG point up to the wing, and it worked out perfect. But by doing that, I had to move this Lear wing. Of course, the CG point would be further back on the Lear wing than it would be on the Mustang wing because of the swept. So I had to move the wing further forward. Well, that then became right underneath where the carburetor would be at. So that's when we elected to turn that carburetor will work any direction. It's a pressure carburetor, so there's no problem there. And that worked out very, very well.
How did you manage to acquire a Learjet? Did you have to buy a wrecked airplane, or?
Yeah, I did. I went around. I started with salvage yards and went around, and I looked at two other airplanes before I came across this. This was a Lear 23, serial 25, and it was actually a little stronger wing than the later one because it was not a Kim Mill wing. It was laminated wing.
Okay.
I think up to first 25 they laminated the wing, since as far as the skin itself was concerned. And I found that out in Gilroy, California, in a scrap yard. A hangar door had fallen on the stab, so I just had them bring the whole airplane back, and the stab was bad, but I found one of those over in Illinois to replace it with. By the way, the landing gear out of that went to Don Whittington. I traded for TF canopy that he had. It needed some work, but that was the canopy that Art Teeter's used to make